Good evening to you. I think I'm live. I'm a little bit out of my normal sorts. In case you're wondering, I am in a southern location to bring the postgame to you. Hope you're doing well. TBD flashes across the back of the screen there. Steve Azano's here. He says Ryan Browne. Yeah, yeah, and that was a fumble. That's the one that might sum up all of my text messages that I got during the game. Before I dig too deep into what I saw this evening and the fact that we were actually entertained this afternoon, evening from Champaign, let me thank our pals. I didn't get this t-shirt there, but if you want to go get a really cool t-shirt and a really cool sweatshirt, you got to go to homefieldapparel.com. Enter Boyle 25 at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Really cool stuff. The platinum packs, the retro jackets, the coaches jackets, the 90s stuff out there. You got to check it out. Purdue's got some really cool stuff on the website. If you don't like Purdue, which I don't know why you're here if you don't, but if you don't like Purdue, they have other teams as well. Also, when you're on campus and you're just leaving Ross-Ade and you want to get something to eat, you head straight toward the fire station, take a left, and then you go into AJ's. Your nose, you'll be pleased, and then they'll hook you up with a pint. At the bottom of the pint, there may be a Boiled Sports magnet. Who knows? And before you get there, get on your phone, eatajs.com, order ahead, get a pint, get some mac and cheese bites, get the pretzels, which I love. Grab the Italian beef. It doesn't matter. You're going to be happy. It doesn't matter what you order. You're going to be happy. That's AJ's. Burgers, beef, beer. AJ's on Vine. Yeah, they're great. So that's a weird game, guys, girls. I don't know of a Purdue fan that saw that coming, the way that game unfolded. Number one, let's just review the things before I get into stats. Let's talk a little bit about the things we thought is unusual. Number one, Hudson Card didn't travel with the team because it was announced late in the week. There's a concussion last week versus Wisconsin, so instead it's Ryan Browne's job, and you can see in my thumbnail and. I was impressed with Ryan Browne. Here's the funny thing. A pal of mine owns where Ryan Browne lives right now. I have hung out in the place that Ryan Browne has created, his man cave. It's pretty awesome. I think I told you guys early in the season. Pretty neat to be in the place where this is where the dude unwinds a little bit. Browne, from all accounts, good guy, decent guy, fun guy to be around. Very fun guy to be around. I can tell you that much. That's universal. But he played his ass off. I think he had over 400 yards of total offense. I haven't looked at the stats yet. I'm going to go over them with you. And Purdue comes up short 49-50 or 50-49. I think Jay would get mad at me for not mentioning the winning score first. 50-49 in Champaign. Purdue falls in overtime for the first time since 2010, I believe. Purdue loses in Champaign, which is a crazy factoid. Purdue had won 6 or 7 or something like that straight games at Illinois. That's nuts in itself. And it felt like this one might have been destined to go the Boilers' way, but instead it didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen, if we're going to be real frank, if we're going to just talk about the negatives, we're going to be real honest with ourselves, the defense failed a couple times when they could have slammed the door shut. Let's call it what it is. But we saw a lot of cool stuff, a lot of different stuff. We saw Ryan Walters being the offensive coordinator and putting things together that looked pretty damn good. Purdue moved the ball well at times, really, really well at times, actually. They played on offense really well. A different game, obviously. I think the FS1 fact bar at halftime said Purdue's offensive plays were like 71% running, which is a very different look for Purdue fans to watch, to be used to. Last time we saw something like that where Purdue ran the ball 70+%, really goes back to like when Hazel was on the sidelines, right? And was it that Northwestern game, if I'm thinking correctly? Purdue came up short in that one, but that was a little bit entertaining. Today was entertaining. I think that's a big thing. And here's the thing. I think Purdue fans are kind of simple, and I'm not trying to put us down. That sounds bad at first blush. But I think we're simple. What we want is something to be proud of, something to root for, something to have fun with. Something we can really cheer for, and I think we got it today. That's the thing. It's cool. I think we got it. I'm looking in the comments right now. Someone asked, Haven Boiler asked, well, so was that a fumble, P-Dowd? Well, the ball looked like it moved to me. And so here's the thing. If you are, boys and girls, I've said this for years, and if you are going to have a game so close that you're relying on the Big Ten officials to make a good call, to have the right call made and it to fall in your team's favor, you're in big trouble. Because guess what? Not only Big Ten, but NCAA football officials are pretty lousy at what they do. But Big Ten football officials are really bad. Even when it comes to sending it up to the booth, sending it back to New York City, wherever they review it, it generally doesn't go great. So, but here's the thing. Let's look at the positives. I'm going to do this first. Before digging into the stats, let's look at the positives. Purdue had an offense that was absolutely stuck in neutral, if not in reverse, right? Purdue couldn't move the ball. They couldn't score. Week in, week out, we saw just some half-assed garbage coming from the offensive side. It got an offensive coordinator fired, and then it got a what do we call it? Offensive analyst moved to the sideline where he called plays, and that didn't yield a very good result. And then finally, it got the head coach calling plays, a guy who he's not an offensive-minded guy. He knows offense, he knows football, but Purdue's doing whatever they can to try to drum up some offense, try some different things. Hudson Card was concussed. I don't think that's a made-up story. But you even had a different quarterback starting today, a lot of different looks, and man, it felt like it might be just a day of destiny that Purdue would get it done today in overtime. But alas, Purdue couldn't stop Illinois and couldn't punch it in from two. Gutsy call at the end. Was it the right call? I don't know. So here's the thing. My brother and I were watching this one at the Southern headquarters where we are. Before today, we were 3-0 watching Purdue at this place that we were watching games. And today we lost our first game. Purdue had beaten Iowa and some other teams there. So just like luck of the draw, when we take our family vacation, when we're in the deep South, who do we see? Well, we see Purdue playing generally a road game on one of them. We're going to miss the Oregon game, sadly, and because of just poor timing or whatever we want to call it. But generally, you know, if you look at that stupid thing that all fans do when we get into that thing where we say, sit in this chair. Like my wife texted me at one point. She said, we're not moving. Your mom and I, we're not moving from these chairs. We're going to stay right here. This is what we ought to do. The superstition we all get into, which I wish we didn't, but we do sometimes because Purdue was rolling at that point. Purdue fought and stormed their way back into the game to get into overtime, and it felt like they would get done, and they didn't because they went for two, and they came up short at the end of the game. Illinois is ranked. Illinois is a good team. They're a very solid football team. They do things well. I think their quarterback's incredibly mediocre, if I'm being really honest, but they do a lot well. Defense is solid. Offense is solid. Not a great team. Not a team that generally lights the scoreboard on fire. But today, of course, when they played at Purdue, they absolutely lit the scoreboard on fire. 50 points is a lot of points. Purdue was 49. Still a lot of points for Purdue, especially when we look at this season, but not quite enough. Let me pour over the stats real quick, and then we'll get to your comments. Appreciate everybody who's here live. Hope you can vent a little bit and enjoy the company of your fellow Boilermakers in the comment section here over on the right. Purdue loses 49-50. Purdue falls to 1-5 on the season. Illinois improves to 5-1. They were 23rd coming in. I was watching an SEC crowd, and me and my group of 4 or 5 towards the end of the game were the only Big Ten fans in there, let alone Purdue fans, but attracted a couple Boilers over here in the Southern locale. We found some, and we almost willed them to a victory, as did many of you. My nephew, NBD, was in the house in Champaign, almost got it done for Purdue. LBD is in an undisclosed location in Southern Indiana. He didn't even get to watch it live, I don't think. Maybe he did, but I don't think he did. Let's look at Ryan Browne's numbers, though. So this is pretty awesome. Ryan Browne finishes 18 for 26, 297 yards passing, 11.4 yards per completion, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then to complete the whole thing, he had 17 carries, 118 yards rushing, and a 20-yard long rush. Devin Mockabee is somebody that every Purdue fan needs to appreciate. I say this over and over and over. This is a guy that we all love, but Devin Mockabee made plays today. I mean, Reggie Love and Devin Mockabee, this is what Anish was talking about at the Handsome Hour. These two guys have really produced week in, week out. They've been great. But Mock, 11 carries, 102 yards, averaging 9.3 yards a carry, had a touchdown when Purdue needed it most. Pushed Purdue down the field. Another play that I thought was fun. Oh, this is fun. Ahmad Branch had one carry for 3 yards, which is the one that I'm trying to think. I remember that play was down in close yardage. But that was neat. Purdue dug deep into their bag of tricks today. The only thing is if we're going to be, again, we're going to be critical. Number one, be critical of the defense. I know they had the strip and score, which is a big deal with Will Helt, I think, punching the ball into the end zone. Yeah, he had one fumble recovery, and I think he finished that on the touchdown. I'm almost positive it was Helt that finished that. You had Helt and Karlaftis there involved in the play. Helt scooped it, and I think he scored. But you also had some big plays made by Max Clare. Max Clare's made plays all year, but today especially good. 6 receptions, 133 yards, no touchdowns. Jamal Edrin had 2 receptions, 51 yards, but he had one big TD. It was a great play. I think he had to go up and get that one. He also, did he have can't remember, but great play in short yardage. You went up and got the ball. Here's the thing about Edrin. You look at the guy and you're like, every play, I'm like, go after that cornerback. Am I the only person? My brother and I, we're sitting next to each other. We're like, look at that guy. That cornerback looks like he's my height. Edrin looks like a freaking Greek god there. He's looking down on the corner. Throw it up at the pylon. Let him go get it. But Edrin had a great play at the end. He went up and got the ball. Jerron Tibbs had he had a big play, 4 receptions, 51 yards as well, a touchdown. Like I said, Mockabee, though, on the receiving side, 3 receptions, 31 yards, and a touchdown receiving. So 1 touchdown receiving, 1 rushing. Drew Bibber, big play, 1 reception for 22 yards, kept the drive going. And Reggie Love, 2 receptions, 9 yards receiving. Will Helt played big. Purdue's defense played big. Kieran Jenkins came up big. Man, big day. He had 10 total tackles. He had 2.5 for loss. And he had a couple just massive plays. He looks like he's playing more in possession. They're putting him on the end instead of a linebacker more often than not. Thieneman also doing big things. So like Purdue, here, let's be real honest. All season we've been looking for this version of Purdue to play football, right? All season. And finally we get to see it. Purdue almost gets it done on the road versus a good Illinois team. And that, if you were going to look at a metric, what I was saying at the beginning of the season, a 5-win Purdue team, this is it. A 5-win Purdue team is a team that barely gets beaten by Illinois on the road, who's a ranked football team, who has beaten good teams this year. This is what we thought we'd see all year, if we're being real honest. I'm sorry, I just thought about this, but this is what we thought all year. Where the hell has this been, right? That's the frustration. It was fun to see Purdue almost win, but that's a little frustrating to see that. We had Nyland Green, who he gets picked on. Let's be real honest again. I'm going to bring the salty honesty today. It was clear in Illinois' last drive they were going to pick on Nyland Green. Nyland Green is a great athlete, tremendous athlete, a big body, a guy who can go do big things. Turn around and find the ball, Nyland. And this is on the coaches as much as anybody. You're a good player. We're glad you're in gold and black. Go find that damn ball. Turn your head, man. Too good. He had the play where Purdue really the pivotal play in the second half was Nyland Green on a cornerback blitz coming around the end, getting the quarterback, knocking the ball loose, and then of course Will Helt goes and gets it, and Karlaftis was right there when it happened. But Nyland Green, man, it's so clear this guy has all the tools. And it's so clear at the same time that Illinois wanted to pick on him. That is the hardest thing to watch, isn't it? Hardest thing to watch. Let's see if there's anything else of note. Elijah Jackson had one kick. He just had one kick return. Dylan Thieneman. Nothing really incriminating, if I remember correctly. Granted, I was going back and forth. I'm going to be real honest. I was going back and forth from the place we're staying to the place that we watched the game, which is a public place. And as people came into town, I was like, all right, let's go watch. Let's go watch again. So I left and came back. And so one time I left and came back and Purdue scored. And that tells you how much different the product was. Purdue's offense actually moved down the field quickly. Ryan Browne did things that really inspired Purdue. Watch this. Mrs. Boiler Dowd's going to appear on the screen right there behind me. So, but yeah, we're in a different place. But yeah, it was a fun game, and it's a damn shame that Purdue couldn't get it done. But I hate moral victories. Okay, let me just say that first. I hate moral victories, but if we're going to say a moral victory was a success, that's about as close as you can get. Road game, Purdue fights their ass off. They come back by a huge deficit in the second half. Right, they were down 27-3 at the half. Am I correct about that? I think I am. And they almost get it done. And the only reason they don't get it done is because the defense couldn't slam the door on a very long field for Illinois. Illinois found the way to score. The offense was great. Coach Walters in this weird offensive coordinator role was great. Ryan Browne was awesome. Purdue's play calling was very inventive. They mixed things up. Purdue's defense made some plays. They weren't good. They weren't consistent, but they made some plays. And I think if you're going to have one team do that, you kind of think it'd be the other way around. The defense would be solid and the offense would have, be sporadic, but really that's not what happened today. Really, the offense was carrying the water from the beginning. Actually, no, beginning of the second half. But from the beginning of the game, one thing you saw was the offense was at least calling new plays. There was a different look and different wrinkles were happening, but they weren't able to get the ball in the end zone. 27-3 at the half. And Purdue loses 50-49. They fought and they clawed. And I think the one thing, if you look back at the Purdue teams that have been great during my lifetime, one thing you see, the commonality is they never gave up. They never quit. So if we can have a team that never quits, I think Purdue fans are going to be pretty happy. I know all the people that are just like already writing off the entire season. I've tried to stay away from that whole idea, and I want to stay away from that, honestly. We'll see what happens at versus Oregon on Friday night in God's country, a game that I can't be in person, but could be a fun, great electric atmosphere. Let me talk about you guys. What are the comments that you have? Okay, Steve Azano says, Ryan Browne. That's it. This whole story. Nathan Dolan says, that was a fumble, like we talked about. I think the ball came loose. I agree with you. Jason Ringer says, howdy, Dowd. All good over here. Billy Shank says, just in time. I don't know, you got here in time. That's good. Andrew Wild says, what a rally. Yeah, what a comeback there in the second half. Purdue played gutsy football. Southampton Boiler says, has the defensive guy ever called an entire offensive game before? That was pretty neat. That was different. Isaac Waldrop says, what a game, fun place to go. So it sounds like you were in Champaign. That's cool. I've been to a game there. I saw Kyle Orton resurrect Purdue for a win there, if I'm remembering correctly. A long time ago, obviously. Adam Beasley says, what a great game. Awesome effort. Some really competitive play. Browne was great. Maury says, why did Purdue do this to me? I think, excuse me, I think you're not the only one who's going to think that way, Maury. That now you're probably thinking, I have reason to hope, right? I think that's one of the hardest things. That you may have said, leave these guys for dead. It's almost over. Let's get to the end. See what happens with the coaching situation. But now all of a sudden you're like, there's a creak of just light coming through that door. I think that's what's happening for a lot of Purdue fans right now. That was fun to watch. Let's see what they can do versus Oregon. Oregon's very good. Andrew Wild says, more questions than answers after this one. I kind of agree, but do you start Browne? That's the biggest question. Do you start Browne and not Card? I don't know how you don't start Browne. That's my take. I don't know how you don't start Browne. Browne was, here's the big difference. I think Card, if I'm going to be real honest, and I know Jay loves Card, and I'm with him on that. Card's a great player, good kid, all good. Card makes decisions slowly. I think that's the big thing. He makes decisions slowly. And it might be part of the Graham Harrell hangover, the way the offense was coached to play. Card makes decisions slowly. Browne makes decisions quickly, and he did it all day today. He was resolute. Didn't work in the first half. Worked pretty damn well in the second half. Pat Gottschall says, glad to see some fight today. This is Browne's team now. It's a good question. I don't know the answer. Yo says, boiler up. Mohel says, got to be Browne's team. Yo says, let Simmons call the defense, and we might turn it around. Yeah, there's There's so many problems. I mean, structurally with this team that got to be figured out quickly. And I don't know the answers. I don't know if they can be solved quickly. I really don't. So let's keep going. RHCP for life says, I can believe Illinois recovered their own kickoff in the second quarter. You don't see that stuff in a video game. I can believe Illinois recovered their own kickoff in the second quarter. So this must be one of the parts when I was going back and forth, I missed this play. And I'm just gonna be really honest with you guys. I did not see the entire game. So I didn't see the one drive where Browne pushed the ball down the field and Purdue scored in the third quarter. So I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. Nathan Dolan says, are we not entertained? Hell yeah, we're entertained. That was fun. Good to see some fight. Why now and not before? Browne, Walters calling the games. I think you see desperation. So, Nathan, I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. I'd say a lot of people would say that's a negative to see so much desperation. I would say the positive is the fact that desperation worked, right? That's a big, big deal. It's really good to see that Walters is still fighting, that guys like Browne have not given up, that guys on the defense are still fighting. I mean, it'd be really simple to roll over for this team. Really easy decision to just say, all right, we're done. They didn't today. That's awesome. That's great. Mohill continues. That looked like it should have been a fumble. And I can understand that ball moved. I'm with you. But again, don't count on the Big Ten officials to ever do anything right. T. Rick says, was never impressed with Card. Seems solid, but not special. Felt like a placeholder or backup quality QB. Browne has some special to him. Browne did show that today. And the fire in the dude's face, I don't think you can deny that, right? Like when things weren't going well, he looked pissed off, right? I think a lot of Purdue fans are like, yeah, you're one of us, one of us, right? So I get that. I get what you're saying. Pat Gottschall says, Browne played well at Northwestern last year. Yes, he did. Lost that game because we alternated QBs. Yeah, that game was kind of a milquetoast game, right? Purdue didn't have much that defined them. The funny thing is this year, this game, Purdue ran the ball a lot, but they looked more resolute in doing it. Last year it was kind of like, okay, it was the Graham Harrell offense with a different guy running it, right? So this was different. Hats off to Walters for being a fake OC. He looked really good doing it. Like some of those play calls were flat out inventive. I mean, that shit was in the playbook. Here's the thing. That was in the playbook. He just dug down and found it and used it. I mean, they were the Jeff Browne flea flicker. I mean, goodness gracious. Like we saw some stuff, right? You saw some inventive stuff. Saw a really cool, one of my favorite calls, I don't know if it's going to get much heralding, was it looked like a fake sweep inside draw. And maybe the smarter football minds out there can tell me exactly what I saw, but it was awesome. They faked all the motion out to the right, and that had Maccabee cut in on an inside draw. A really simple play, but it pulled half of the defense went out to the right. It was a great play. Little stuff like that, I'm all for it. I'm here for it. Greg Mitchell says, the flicker of life with a disastrous upcoming schedule to snuff it out. Hold on for Northwestern, Michigan State, and yes, Indiana. Yeah, Indiana's good. And then see Rutgers results for reference. Schedule matters. Yeah, Rutgers all of a sudden showed their ass today, didn't they? They got just whipped. Wisconsin, in the classic wake of the get-right game versus Purdue, Wisconsin beats the crap out of Rutgers. Just absolutely shows them the door. That was pretty amazing. Yo says Browne was the guy from what I saw last year. I don't know if I had enough to say that. I think Card has a lot of tools. I just think that he's second guessing himself right now. Mohill says, my question is, why didn't they utilize Card like they did Browne? It's a fair question. Card can run the ball. Card is a good athlete. I think Ryan Browne would tell you Card's a good athlete. I think it's a fair question. So I don't know the answer. He continues, says, yeah, man, 3-17 is stupid. What is that? I don't know what we're talking about. Let me skip down here. South Haven Boiler says, so it was a fumble. Yeah, we may address that earlier. I think it might have been a fumble. T-Rick said, scored as many points today as we have in the previous 4 weeks. Gosh darn it. Mohill 93 says, some zone and keep them in front of you. The defense, to me, played well enough at times, but when you needed them to make a play, they didn't. And that's the hardest thing for me. The defensive backfield, which I think is greatly improved. They just got picked on in that final drive by Illinois in regulation. You should have shut the door on them. Just should have. Motor City Boiler says, how can a team look so different from week to week? It's all under their heads. Let's hope they get it figured out. I want everyone to think about this. Good comment, Motor City Boiler. All the people that said, and they left this roster for dead, and I have, and Jay has, and Anish has been saying the roster isn't the issue, the coaching is the issue. This is where we can point at. Where when a guy is motivated to play and the scheme is right, they look good all of a sudden. Isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? These are the same players. In fact, you still have some injuries. You still have some decimation happening on the roster. We still haven't seen Smith, and we're not going to see him this season, clearly. But it's a sign that's saying, hey, if you put these guys in position to win, they can win. There's a lot of guys on this team. There are dudes on this team. I'm gonna stay on that. That's where I stand with you. I'm with you, Motor City Boiler. Jim Garfinkel says, hey, Dowd, with this amount of points scored, is that another conviction of Walter's defensive schemes? I think so. I think I've been pretty clear. I am not pleased with the defense, and I don't think you can be. I know this is a modern game of football. You see a lot of week in, week out. You see a lot of teams scoring a lot of points, but today, especially at the end, defense need to stiffen up and make a play. So I'm with you. Adam Beasley says, I do not think it was a fumble. He doesn't think it was a fumble. Okay. It was tight to his leg. The knees went down, needed to be loose. It looked like the ball moved to me, Adam. And he did go down. I see what you're talking about. It was near his leg, but the ball did move. The ball did move. So that means it's a loose ball. T-Rick says, if it had been called a fumble, the call stands. Unfortunately, it was called a fumble, and it was still going to stand. So if it had been called a fumble, the call stands. Unfortunately, it wasn't called a fumble. There you go. There you go, B-Dowd. Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't called a fumble on the field. Like I said, if a game's close enough and the Big Ten officials can screw it up, they're going to. Plain and simple. I will say that till the day I die. Pat Gottschall says, agree with Mohol 93. Card was always touted as being mobile, but he wasn't utilized like Browne has been. He is mobile, and you guys know that. You can see that on the outside. He is mobile. I think the decision-making is a little bit slower, and I think it comes down to kind of how they're using him again. But his confidence is a bit shaken. Ed Albanese, the king of gummy bears, gummy worms, all things gummy, really, says, yes, it was a fumble. He had no control and the knee was not down. So we can debate this all over. Here's what we know. Purdue ends up with one in the right-hand column. They get the L in Champaign, sadly. Yo says, yeah, no video evidence overturned. I think the ball moved. RHCP for life says, 3rd and 6, late in the game. We had them on the ropes. Agreed. And Kedron Jenkins leaving his receiver to sack the QB right as the QB floats it over his head. First down, killed our chances. And that happened more than once. There's another play where Will Helt was acting like a kind of a spy, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it may have been, yeah, it was that final drive where we were just like, me and my brothers, my dad were like, and my nephew, put a spy on him. And he's spying. And then he leaves his spy role. And because of him leaving the spy role, because of him not staying assignment sound, Illinois throws it right past him. This is a problem. This is the bigger problem with the defense. If we're going to be honest, we're going to say, okay, what's the problem over and over? This is the issue, that this team is really bad at keeping their assignments, really bad at playing disciplined football. The flags showed themselves in the first half. We saw that over and over. And so, yeah, that's a big story. The Noodle says Browne was a fearless runner. Card was a cautious runner. I think that's accurate. I think that's a good call. At Albanese, so is Card out. Card is out with a concussion. I think they will split time between the 1s and 2s this week. That's my guess, if I'm going to make a guess. Again, I have no crystal ball. It's just theory. Michelle Billieu says, much more exciting game. I'm still waiting for them to realize one of the other playmakers, but I definitely was on the edge of my seat in the second half. Yeah, Michelle, keep the faith. And I don't know why they keep missing that guy. I think he's pretty darn good. So I'm with you, Michelle, and thanks for being here. And yeah, the offense showed some reasons to believe that things can get better quickly. Right, Michelle? Thanks for being here again, week in, week out. Appreciate it. Jim Garfinkel says, do we credit Simmons or Walters for that reverse wishbone? I think you give Simmons a credit on that one. I think give Simmons a credit because I think there's a lot of prep, but Walters made the call, right? There was some interesting play calls today. Like there, a lot of things on offense really piqued my curiosity and said, okay, what the hell? Where have we been, right? So it's tough. Yo says receivers can catch balls. Yes, and like Michelle was saying, there's one receiver that's not getting much of a shot, and I agree. But yeah, the receivers still, some guys still came up short. There were a couple balls that hit guys in the hands, but yeah, they can catch balls. This receiving core is really good. I have been saying that since August. I'm going to keep saying that the receiving core is really good, and I know they've. Maybe there's a couple guys that haven't taken advantage of every opportunity given. I like this receiving core. There's one specific play. I'm not going to call anybody out. Left sideline, deep ball, went off both hands. I think the defensive back was in his breadbasket. Good defense. He was right there. But I think the play I think he still should have come up with the catch. So, Mohel93 says, CJ Smith going to play this year, or is he just going to collect a paycheck? So here's the question, guys, girls, and here's the hard thing. This is the real hard medicine. You have guys out there that are pros, and I keep saying this, and I am not going to be critical on these people. I'm trying not to be critical, but CJ Smith got paid money to come here out of the portal, and he's not the only one. And now you've got real adult money. When I say real adult money, a lot of these guys are getting paid more than I do every year. And so it's a hard thing not to be critical. And you're well within your right as a fan to be critical. So I'm going to if I can do one thing, I'm going to continue to hit this idea. Keep it civil, okay? If you're going to call these people out, you're going to say, why the hell aren't they making the catches? Why aren't they making the plays, the tackles? They're getting paid. A lot of these guys are big-time talents. Just don't call them out personally, okay? Let's be better than a lot of fan bases. Let's not do that. All right, let's not do that. But yeah, I think guys should make plays. Now that you have guys making money, yep. And here on the other hand, you're making money, you should make plays. If you don't make plays, you're going to hear it. Pretty simple. Yo says card sucks, fellas. Sorry, he sucks. I don't think he sucks. So, and I'm not saying everybody's great. I'm not doing that. I think I've been pretty clear. I think the defense let Purdue down a couple times tonight. But yeah, I don't think Card sucks. But I do think Card's confidence is shaken to its core. Q Turner says Browne was on fire. Felt like we had a chance with him in. B Dowd, we've called for this for a while. If Card comes back, Walters must go. Browne is the guy. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk this week about different things. If, then, this, right? So the old theorem stuff. If, then. I don't think this is the thing you hang your hat on as a fan and say, if Card is brought back, then I am done. I am not coming back. Or if Card comes back, the season is over, whatever. If Card comes back, then Walters must be fired. No, here's the thing I would continue to say. If this team fights like they did tonight versus the remainder of the schedule, they're going to win 2 more games at least. Okay? 2 more games. That was one really, really good half of offensive football. Really, we haven't seen a good defensive game yet, have we? Correct me if I'm wrong in the margins, and you're welcome to do it. I will read your comment. So one half of really dynamic offense almost got it done versus a ranked team. Again, it shows how talented this team is, how good they should have been, how frustrated it's okay for you to be, right? Should have been better. Not better right now. Let's see. Moha says, I will say that when I ran to Target at halftime, everything changed after that. Yeah, so some heroes don't wear capes. Thanks for doing that, Maury. Thanks for going to Target. You really made a difference today. John Hodge says, defense can't tackle, especially on first contact. And I agree with you, John. And I think this is an incredible indictment of a coaching staff that is very defensive heavy. The fact that fundamentals are not apparent. Defense doesn't make tackles on first contact. The defensive backs don't turn around and find the ball ever. That stuff kills me. So yeah, I'm with you. I am absolutely with you. Maniacally Steve says, thanks for your service, Mohel. Yeah. It was really, really courageous. Him going to Target like that was awesome. Ed Albany says, I would start Browne 100%. Yo says, Card has skills, but he doesn't have the it factor. Jim Carfinkel says, he's talking about John. I'm going to pass this. Greg Mitchell says, have to listen to radio, so this is not my opinion. But our radio guys seem to be kind of saying Green was taking plays off. Making some plays and then just not showing up in the next play, big plays, true or false. Here's what I think about this, Greg. I think Nyland Green has all the skill, all the stuff on paper that a player needs. I think there are 75 guys on that roster that wish they had what Nyland Green has, meaning size, speed, natural ability. And I think Nyland Green at the same time is out of position. I think Nyland Green's technique sucks. I think he can be way better. I don't think he is constantly, he has the best motor. Yeah, I think it's okay to say that Nyland Green can be better. To say he's taking plays off, I don't know if I'd go that far, but they were picking on him at the end. You can go back and watch the tape. Watch, Illinois went right after him. That should be your best corner, but he's not your best corner. And that's pretty indicting of a guy who's that talented. Steve Azano says, be Dowd, not that you're planning on taking it off Spotify, but I rarely make it to these quick casts but live, but I listen to it on every stream during the week on Spotify, so please keep throwing them on there. Yeah, so what we've got, if you don't know, this is where the Believe Network comes in. I put it on there afterwards. After I post this on YouTube, I go right on, I convert it over to just audio, and then I load it on the Believe. Sometimes I'm a little delinquent on that, so I'm going to try to make sure it's always getting loaded on. Thanks to everybody who's live. Thanks for being here today, Steve. Thanks to everybody who's listen to it on delay, either on YouTube or via audio. Really appreciate it. Q Turner says, I've never felt good for a loss. Boiler up. Yeah. And this one, if we're going to be moral victory types, this is one that feels pretty good. That said, I'm pissed off that streak was broken today. And my nephew didn't get to see another win in person because he was there with a bunch of smart kids. And if he's listening, he knows what I'm talking about. Mohill 93 says he's Rob Henry but can throw. Yeah, there we go. I couldn't think of Henry's name. That's a shame. That's not my fault. Reminiscent of Rob Henry in the first half. Let's say about that. Let's say that. Where you're like, glimpses of greatness, but couldn't get in the end zone, right? Great athleticism, quick decision making, all that stuff that's fun. In the second half, there you're like, holy crap, dude can play. Ryan Browne can play. Okay, Ryan Browne has been sitting, not wasting away. That's not really fair, but he's been on the bench. He's been second string, and he played great in the second half. He let it rip a little bit. That was awesome. Let's hope he can do two games in a row. And wouldn't he be a hero? Wouldn't he be a hero in God's country in the blackout versus Oregon? They're going to have something new for us, by the way. There's going to be some new wrinkle in the uniform or helmet or something. I think it's going to be black head to toe. I don't know what the helmets are going to look like. Could be pretty fun. But I can't be there in person, sadly. Good point, though, Maury. Adam Beasley says, Card is crapping his pants in the pocket, constantly not winning football. Card is definitely not making decisions quickly. That's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to go that far. Ed Albany says, why did we not hit the extra point? Don't get it. It's sure a chance to play on. Boy, I don't know. See, sometimes I read comments. I know this is a good comment, Ed, because you're a smart guy. I have no idea what we're talking about here. Mohill 93, I'm not going to read that. Sorry. I think it's tough. Let's see. Let me go back a little bit. Let's go down a little bit. Oh, I see. But now YouTube's doing what it's doing. I'm gonna try to find some commenters that I haven't read yet. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. Carl Horojo says exactly. It appears Purdue football has a pulse. That's a big deal. Yeah, Patrick Kennedy says Coach Walters was almost crying on WAZY after the game. I think they felt this one. I think they wanted it. And then let's go with Carl's comment of Purdue football having a pulse. That's the way I felt. I was like, man, this team was kind of left for dead by many of us, and myself included, where I was like, they're coasting to the end of the season. We're going to see what happens with Walters and company. But today you saw a team that they fought. They fought. And they almost got it done. And Illinois is not chopped liver. That's a decent team. So, and they wanted this one, obviously. A lot of Purdue fans like, oh, this is the one Purdue gets up for. It's Illinois. No, it wasn't that simple. And it's not that simple. You can't just flip this stuff on like a switch. Purdue did a lot of stuff different today. Make no bones about it. And they found a way to come together in the second half. It took them a half to gel. All these new systems and ideas and ways of doing things, and new personnel. There are all sorts of new guys playing on defense too. I've got to dig a little bit into the roster, but I saw a couple guys playing that I swear I haven't seen all season. You guys can tell me I'm right or wrong, but I swear I saw a couple guys on defense that hadn't played all season and were making plays, making tackles. So maybe in another week, those guys even come together and make another step. John Younger says, Card makes slow reads, but also bad reads. That's a bad combo. The Noodle says, Joe Bear is here. The Joe Bear. Where am I? Where is that one? Did I miss that? It's got to be up here. So my system, as always, is glitching because that's what we do here. But let's go further. James Farrat says, glad that we saw good things. Yeah, it was really positive. Melissa Hunt, our old pal, says, Walt sounded choked up after the game on Postgame Radio, and I haven't listened to the interviews there. I did see a guy that looked like he really cared on the quick post games that I saw. Yeah, he looks like he cares. This is the hardest thing. I got to tell you, this is the hardest thing over and over of all the people, myself included, who have kind of beat a drum about accountability. Walter's a really likable guy. And I can tell you, I got more texts this week and more DMs about rumors about what's happening behind closed doors, and they're not good. The rumors that I'm hearing from people, I don't know if they're real. I don't know that, and that's why I don't talk about them. I don't publicize stuff like that. But they don't sound good. And so what we saw today is a guy that really cares, a guy who's really likable. My wife says he's really handsome. So that's also a positive. If looking good in a tight shirt would get you wins, I keep saying this, Purdue would have 10 wins already. Mercy. Sorry. That was too far. Penny Board Teddy says, played with the kid in middle school grade. Or wait, played with the kid in middle school, grade school, in high school. You guys got a special one. Hope he does well. I have no idea what you're talking about. Melissa Hunt says, I don't know which guy you're talking about. I guess it's Browne. That's my guess. Melissa Hunt says, and the post-game interview, his demeanor wasn't great, rightfully so. Yeah, he wanted this one. He doesn't like losing to Illinois, no doubt. And by the way, going for 2 at the end, we can second guess that decision all we want. I think it's a gutsy call. I don't know if it's the right call. Maybe you wanted to sit in a little bit, like let the thing settle down. And a lot of emotion there. I like the call, though. I mean, like, if you're going to, I like the call. I like the idea there. You're like, okay, let's go effing in this thing. We're on the road. We fought all the way back. We got all this momentum, but really the momentum got taken away from the defense not being able to stop them. Whatever. Got all this momentum. Punch it in. Our offensive momentum is solid and couldn't get it done. Sucks. Ancient Atomic Immorality says it's a wrap for Walters and Card. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that simple, guys and girls. Ed Albany says, love how Browne threw the ball. I'm for him to start. J Money was wrong on Card. You can take it up with him on the, we will have I believe we're going to have a handsome hour on Monday at 9-ish. We got a lot of moving parts. I'm out of town. Anish is out of town. Jay is always on junkets doing what the successful and powerful do. That's what Jay does. So I don't know, but I think we're going to have a handsome hour. So, Oh Happy Rays says, finally a breath of life. This is all I wanted to see with our schedule this year. Just compete. I think you're not alone there. It's a good take. Pat Kennedy says, Walter's supposed to be a defensive guru. Why can't Purdue defense stop any third downs? This is a very good take as well. And it's a frustrating take. What the hell? You've got all this defensive first mentality out there, and then you've got that garbage happening. It's tough to swallow. Adam W. says, oh, Adam. How are you, Adam? Says, late to live, but it was fun to watch. Adam, thank you for being here. Hope you're well, brother. Andy Messmer, my pal who met me at Adam's establishment. This is Andy and I go back to college. He says, I'm amazed that the team is still playing hard despite their record. I don't want to see Card out there again. The defensive scheme needs to change. Can they fire defensive coordinator too? Yes, they can, Andy. Kane is the defensive coordinator. I do not think they're going to fire him because now you've got additional pressure on Ryan Walters as play caller Ryan Walters, offensive coordinator, quasi-offensive coordinator Ryan Walters, along with Coach Simmons. So, yeah, Kane is earning some money because he's doing a lot of it on his own. But I understand your perspective, Andy. Good to have you on here. Glad you're here. Adam Garfinkel says, Yanni left his guy when the edge was actually intact, and that gave up the huge play. That's the one I'm talking about, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for helping me with that. Here's the thing. You guys know this. I know just enough about football to look and sound stupid. I try my best to analyze things quickly, remember what I saw, and then give it back to you, and we can talk back and forth. I'm not a football coach, but neither are some of the Purdue football coaches this year. That was rough. Big time boiler, my friend Grant says. Ryan Browne has that it factor. I agree. Let me skip down a little bit. See, South Haven Boiler says, looks like the Handsome Hour coaching search show got pushed back a week. Yeah, we had a long discussion today. Behind the curtain, we had a long discussion today about all that stuff. We've tried to keep it close to the vest, and thank God we get to keep it a little bit closer for another week. Big Time Boiler says, it was nice to return to the typical Purdue roller coaster of emotions. The last few weeks there have been nothing to be excited about. Yeah, just negativity doesn't feel good. That's not a roller coaster. That's just a plummet down into the depths of hell. It sucks. Let's see. Ty Am Daily says, are you on vacation? I am, Ty. And I'm just getting started, so I'm excited about this vacation. Calgon, take me away. No, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to have a little bit of a break, but this is something we do every year. We like getting away in the fall for the kids. Two of the kids are not here, though, because they're in college in God's country, which is wild. This is a different trip. John Harrell says, Brownie, the Harry-O, I'm hungry. Yeah, so I did a tweet, John. You probably saw it, where it was just a delicious warm brownie with the chocolate being all gooey, and I was like, brownie, right? Yeah, so, yeah. Ryan Browne's a beast, dude. So let's see. Sam says, they fought, yes, but thinking this changes Coach Ryan Walters' fate is absurd. Penalties, undisciplined play. I agree. I said that. An awful defensive scheme is his undoing. Bye-bye. So Sam is already done. Sam is moving on to greener pasture. Sam is done. In case you were wondering, Sam is moving on. I don't think it's that simple, Sam, right now. I just don't. So Jason Ron says, Michigan is going to rush for 500 yards versus Illinois. That being said, the crap Walters pulled during the halftime was Bush League. And I don't have any idea what you're talking about there. So maybe you guys can fill me in. Because like I said, I'm in vacation mode, doing everything I can. What was the crap that Walters pulled during halftime? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you guys can answer in the comments in the whatever, in this live margin. We can talk about that. Ed Albany says, well, now you got us on the hook. What are some of the things that you heard from inside? Anything you can share? No, Ed. I said I wasn't going to share them. So here's the thing. When you are a small-time niche celebrity, if you will, and I'm the nichest of niche, right? People that have been around me at games know that I'm recognized just a little bit. Right. But there are a lot of people that like to send me notes of things they hear, comments, things that are on the inside. Do I know if this is real? No, I don't. And so I don't. Here's the thing. I don't ever publicize something that someone given me permission to do. If I talk to a player, like when I talked to Ryan Browne weeks ago and he told me whatever, I don't generally bring that public. OK, Ryan's a decent dude. So but I don't have anything to report is what I'm saying. That's the long and short. Right. Andy Mesmer says, I like the going for two, win it now. And I agree with you, Andy. I think that's a gutsy, good call. Sorry, guys. Nathan Granat says, me too, great call. Let me see if I can see. Paul Henderson says, some grit in that Purdue team today. I think that's what we want to see. DRC says, these young men haven't given up yet. Still got some fight. I agree. Let me go down here a little bit. Let's see. Thank you to everybody tuning in. Let's see. Greg Mitchell says, on that last play, I think Maccabee was open. He was. Good call, Greg. Mockabee was open in the flat with some space, and Browne looked his way but didn't throw it. Yeah, that was that fast decision. That needs to be made. That's the difference between the truly great quarterbacks and maybe, guys that have experience. He's played a total of 7 quarters in his career, right? Need to make that call quick. He was open. I agree. Just get Mock the ball and it makes the play. Yep, I agree, Greg. It's a good take. And I think it's something a lot of Purdue fans saw. I literally yelled and pointed at the screen. Really easy for me to do. Long way away. Let's see. Yeah, so Yo says, if Card plays today, no way we have the same success. He can't run as well as Browne. Can't see the field as well. One thing I see different, let me just say a quantifiable thing. I don't know if it's even true. But to me, it looks like Browne is put together a little bit better to take hits. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he's better at his technique of getting tackled, getting hit, getting punched in the mouth. Card looks a little thinner to me, especially from the waist down. Not trying to call out a guy's physique, but Browne looks like he's a little bit better put together. And I may be wrong, but that's the way I see it. I call him as I see him. And I think Browne looks like he's got something special happening. Ethan says, what do you think about the decommits? Kind of scary. Yeah, that's a good point. And we're almost to an hour, but I'm going to keep going. Good point, Ethan. Yeah, the last 2 weeks we've seen recruits dropping a little bit. Yep, it sucks. This is really bad. And this one, it starts saying there's a lot of things going on that are concerning. And I agree with you. Yes. 2 of those decommits 3 of them were really highly ranked. Another one is a guy that you really need, an offensive lineman. I don't like any of this, so I'm with you, Ethan. Karen Grulock, my buddy, longtime buddy, says, virtual pal says, good evening, BD. Hope flickers. Yeah, we just got a little taste. Just a little taste of hope. We loved it. Sam says, may not be that simple, but are we going to be playing rebuild 2 years removed from the Big Ten West title for a long time? That is simple truth. Boy, we're in a sticky situation, aren't we? I mean, not us, literally, fans. We're not in much of a sticky situation at all. But the program is, and Babinski is, and Coach Walters is, and they've made everybody that is truly involved in this has made this very tough on themselves. And everyone outside, meaning ticket holders, people that give money, alums in general who care, like you guys, we've been starting to put some pressure on it because we don't find the product acceptable. I don't think it's anything wrong with that, saying that this is unacceptable for a team to look as bad as they have week in, week out. But everything's murky and muddy right now. Everything is. Here's the thing that I would suggest for all of us. I know there's been a lot of rumors going on about what happens in the next 2-3 weeks. I think this muddies the water more. What we saw versus Illinois actually doesn't make anything clearer. It makes it murkier. They didn't win, so you didn't get that clear, put one in the left-hand column idea. But they didn't look good for half. They allowed a lot of points. They did a lot of things poorly, but they fought like hell. If you fight like hell, I will make a statement. I think Mike Babinski and company would say, if you fight like hell for the rest of the season, you're probably going to buy some time. I'm guessing that's true. It's going to be hard, though, because a lot of the people that were supposed to come in are not coming in now. But maybe you can get some of those guys to believe again. The people that have left their commitments say, listen, man, we are this close. We are a developmental program. You're a key cog in that development. Rethink your decommitment. Maybe. I think Walters is a really good salesman to these young guys. I think they like him. I think they like him a lot, actually. So I don't think it's completely dead. So let's see what happens in the next week. 2 weeks. See what happens. So you got Oregon, then you got a bye week. So, yeah, it's murky. Let's see. Let's get down here. Paul Henderson says, as an Illinois fan who's seen some lean years, I'll just say have a little more patience. Walter's given some time. It will get a better product. Paul, I'm going to go ahead and say you're out of your depth here. You're not in the right group because you haven't watched Purdue play this year. If you think that this is something that's as simple as have a little more time. The way Purdue played today, Paul, what you saw today, that's a Purdue team that deserves more time. But what we have seen this year does not deserve more time. How about that? And if you go back and you look at the results, look at the stats, and then go watch some highlights, you'll see what I'm saying, Paul. That Purdue team, the previous 4 weeks, right? 4 straight weeks of just listless football. A bunch of guys that looking like they didn't care, weren't on the same page, getting their asses kicked by some teams that you shouldn't get your ass kicked by. Maybe getting beaten up by Notre Dame is okay. Not getting beaten up by that. Not getting beaten historically bad by Notre Dame and Wisconsin. Not getting worked by Oregon State. That's not acceptable. That doesn't deserve more time. So that's why I say this water is so murky. So I think you're incorrect here, Paul. But let's see what happens the next couple weeks. That's the whole thing. The season is not over. Karen Grulock says, totally agree with fight like hell buys time. Yep, it does. Kevin Mosby, I think I got the pronunciation. Why not give Maccabee the ball more rushing and passing? Statistics don't lie. He's special. He's special, Kevin. I think the Illinois fan, Paul, would say that 45, he's special. He's really, really good. Does a lot of things really, really well. He's really tough, really unorthodox in his way of running. He's a Purdue type of guy. Purdue people, we don't do things just like everybody else does, right? Because we can't. We don't have the same roster as some schools do, right? When we're unorthodox, we do it better. And I agree. He deserves more looks. He deserves more touches. So thanks, Paul. I'm with you. Appreciate it. Eddie Money, wow, from the grave says, it's corny, but I thought of today as a moral victory. Yeah, I'm with you. If you go back to the tape, I use those words, Eddie. So that's about it. This is a good show. I appreciate everybody. Paul, thanks for coming in from Champaign to sound off. This has been a fun thing, a different thing this season. I think we've seen this over and over, that we've had people from the other fan bases talk to us. This is really cool. So thanks for coming. Yeah, Paul says, I know, I was just trying to make you feel better. Yeah, thanks, Paul. We don't feel better after losing. Here's the thing. Swept you in basketball, bro. So that still feels good. And Nicholas Granat says, the way they played, they would have beaten Oregon State and Nebraska. That's what's so frustrating. Yeah. I see it, Paul. They would have. They would have definitely been Oregon State with that type of fight, and maybe Nebraska. But dang nab. I mean, that's the hardest thing. You fight like that, Paul, that Purdue team that you saw today, that you got to see, is not, just go look at the scores. You don't have to dig much deeper in that. Look at the way Purdue was playing in previous weeks. We don't feel much better about it, Paul. So, So thanks to everybody. Karen says, glad we have Mock, but his career is wasted in many ways. Yeah, but I bet, just because I know a little bit about Maccabee and his family and what he's all about, I bet Maccabee doesn't feel like he regrets where he is. I don't think he does. Let's remember the roots where this guy comes from. Let's remember where he was a walk-on, right? And now he's a legit weapon. But he's an interesting guy. This is an interesting guy with interesting people around him, thoughtful people around him. I don't think Maccabee regrets anything. That's just my guess. So Brad Hunter says he was at the game today, and some Illinois fans kept mouthing off about Edey being gone. So salty. I think, Brad, you got to take that up with Paul. I think it's Paul is the representative and you're the Purdue representative. I'm just kidding. It's just two individuals. It's all right. But yeah, I think Paul would know this. He knows Illinois fans. They are still salty. They were mad that Cockburn didn't get the pub that they thought he deserved, and Edey got the pub that he deserved. Make no bones about it. Zach Edey is an absolute beast of a dude, and he showed it over and over. That's the funny thing. Paul probably knows this. It's frustrating when you're pissed off and a guy keeps coming and keeps winning, keeps doing what he does. Zach Edey's a bad dude. And Zach Edey's going to prove he's a bad dude. He's already shown it in the NBA. He's really, really good. He's really good. He's generationally good. You don't win National Player of the Year twice as a fluke. Dude's bad. Right? The bad thing is we have to deal with the world after Zach Edey. So Matt Painter's got to prove himself on a whole nother level. That's tough. That's tough, man. So, yeah. So, and Paul says, yeah, he's glad Edey's gone. I believe it. I completely believe that. And Paul's not alone. There are Michigan State fans. There are IU fans. There are Wisconsin fans. There are Tennessee fans that are all happy about it. Guess what? Bad news, Paul. Purdue ain't dead, brother. It's not over. God bless you guys. Hammer down. We're under an hour. That's a big, big goal I like to meet. I'm just kidding. I don't care. I'm so bad at managing my time, but I'm glad everyone tuned in here live and on delay. keep fighting, just like the Boilers did today. Purdue loses 49-50 in a frustrating game, but somewhat it's murky now. Purdue falls to 1-5 on the season. God bless you. Hammer down. We'll talk to you soon. See you.